Hello, I'm Chris Wing, back after a short break and here to bring the review for you. If you love movies and want reviews, you've come to the right place. In the run-up to the upcoming release of Logan, I've decided to take a look back at the previous Wolverine solo films. I begin, unfortunately, with X-Men Origins Wolverine. The fourth overall installment in the X-Men film series, and the first solo outing for arguably its most famous character, is directed by Gavin Hood, and stars Hugh Jackman, Leah Schreiber, Ryan Reynolds, and will.i.am. This prequel story touches on a series of events in the title character's, aka Logan's, traumatic past and strained relationship with his violent half-brother, Victor Creed. Years after departing from a ruthless Black Ops team, Logan is forced back into action after Victor, aka Sabretooth, goes rogue and starts targeting their former team's other members one by one. His path to revenge is one that will require him to merge his skeleton with the indestructible Adamantium to become the titular mutant anti-hero. After the original X-Men trilogy concluded with the disappointing Last Stand in 2006, this was the first attempt to keep the franchise going and perhaps even revitalize it with a new series of spin-off films. Due to poor critical and audience reception, however, it never actually received any sequels. A Magneto Origins movie was planned, but it lumbered in development hell and ended up never getting produced. And I keep hearing that they're trying to make a solo movie with Gambit, but that doesn't seem to be going anywhere, so that makes this film and its title quite redundant. But honestly, that's for the best. Now, 20th Century Fox have generally done a good job with the X-Men films, even though some of them are much better than others. But you know those comic book movies like that god-awful Fantastic Four flick that came out a couple of years ago? Or The Amazing Spider-Man, though I admit I did actually like that. You know, the ones that feel like contractual obligations that just get made so that the studios can keep the rights out of Marvel's hands for a few more years. Yeah, that's what Origins feels like. And the whole thing just falls completely flat with a multitude of problems. The vast majority of its flaws stem from an uninspired and messy narrative, which is likely as a result of filming commencing while the screenplay was still unfinished. I feel bad saying that about co-writer David Benioff because he's clearly a man with great talents. He's best known as the showrunner of Game of Thrones, which is one of my favourite TV shows, but in the case of this film, he just doesn't seem to care about the material he's adapting. There's no passion here, nor any semblance of urgency, just a generic story that occasionally delivers some decent moments, but all just comes and goes without leaving any lasting impression. On the semi-plus side of things, Jackman is once again perfectly suited and believable in the title role, Schreiber makes for a convincing villain, and as two former allies turned enemies, they play off each other pretty well, both actors genuinely trying their hardest to make the best of the lackluster script. The other actors aren't quite so favourable, however. In his first live-action role, and still the only one where he plays a fictional character, will.i.am looks extremely out of place and is impossible to take seriously. While in his first portrayal of Wade Wilson, Ryan Reynolds is also bland and looks completely disengaged with the story, as if he's fully aware of just how dreadfully realised his character is. Much of the film is hampered by terribly rushed exposition that never gives the narrative or its characters any space to properly develop. Sabretooth's entire background and descent into a sadistic antagonist is skimmed through during the opening credits, which only degrade the already poorly explained motives for his subsequent actions even further. The screenplay also does little to make Wolverine a compelling protagonist. It never delves particularly deep into his troubled past, and both before and after the Adamantium was put into him, he's never seriously challenged or threatened by any obstacles he comes across. But to explain Origins' gravest mistake requires spoiling some climactic scenes. As aforementioned, this marks the first appearance of Wade Wilson, better known as Deadpool. And he sucks ass. I know reviews are supposed to be in-depth and dignified, but well, just look at him. What else am I supposed to say? It's one thing to suck all the fun and irreverence out of him early on, But to then completely silence the mug with the mouth and turn him into a lethal bad guy that has to be killed off by Wolverine and Sabretooth in a sudden and brief motive turnaround that makes absolutely no sense, the result is quite simply one of the worst character restructures imaginable. The film barely even holds up as a standalone action flick, packing only a handful of standard and unmemorable fight scenes. But in their slight defense, most of them are at least competently shot, lit and edited, with the sole exception being a forest chase scene, which might have been somewhat enjoyable if it weren't for quick cuts every second or two. If you're a comic book movie or X-Men completist, or just mildly curious, you might want to see this one just to say you've seen it, but as it's all since been retconned and mocked in vastly superior features, there's not really any reason to. Outside of some unintentional humour that I got out of it once in a while, X-Men Origins Wolverine is a dull and forgettable experience that provides little redeeming value and a disservice to many of its characters. I'm giving it a 3 out of 10. Well, that's one down, and the good news is it's only uphill from here. As always, if you've seen the movie I just reviewed, what did you think of it? Please let me know in the comments, and if you liked this, then be sure to subscribe and follow me on social media to keep up with my work. Stay tuned as my series of Wolverine reviews continues with The Wolverine. That's coming up tomorrow, and then of course my review for Logan will be up a few days later. Until then, thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you again next time I'm here to bring the review for you!